it's going to be quite an interesting one, because this week, instead of us doing a sort of, chat, which we normally do, we're going to do something a bit different. Bianca, you can maybe explain.
Well, today I'm actually going to be the student. I'll try not to be too cheeky, but Dad is essentially going to train me on the math of sales. And this is the way we're going to deliver it to you guys today. The math of sales is excellent. It is all about KPIs, so key performance indicators. And when Dad trained me many years ago, it was the one I found most difficult to get my head around. But and although we are only going to touch the surface level of it today, because it's actually quite an in-depth process, but with the time that we have and through this webinar, we're going to go into it in quite a lot of fun detail. But it's so effective, and once you understand it and nail it, it is fabulous. So selling isn't just about talking to customers, it really is all about the activity and efficiency of selling process. So we're going to go through the importance of KPIs and our method of the math of sales, and how to use the no's that you get from customers to lead you to your next yes. So I'm Bianca, your motivational sales trainer with the cellular attitude, and I'll pass on to you, Dad.
Yeah, my name is Adam Caplan, and I'm lucky enough to work with Bianca. I've been doing sales training for a number of years, and to have the opportunity to have your daughter working with you, well, it's just a dream, really, to be honest with you. I'm very, very fortunate. She's challenging. Believe you me, she challenges me all the time. But that's a good thing, because he who thinks he knows it all definitely doesn't. So she's great, and I enjoy doing it. And this is quite an interesting session, because this was one of the things that she always, may I say, Bianca, you often got stressed about, because for a while it took you some time to get this. So it's very important. And what's ironic is that you were using the skills that we're going to talk about here, but you didn't realize it so much. And so to be able to, from one thing to use it, it's another thing to sort of be able to teach it and feel confident in teaching it. So that is what we're going to talk about. So math of sales, and as usual, this is being recorded. We're very big about that. The math of sales and why numbers rule your business is a webinar that's going to talk about KPIs, which are key performance indicators, and some interesting elements that are going to, I believe, help you make your business or your sales results improve. If you've been in sales, you'll have been aware of KPIs for a number of years, and what we're going to do is really look at this in a different way, so you can have a look at it. And we're going to do this sort of like a training session. So I'm going to sort of train Bianca and you guys as well. So please feel free to ask questions. And what Bianca's going to do is she's going to monitor the questions and ask questions, because I'm going to throw some questions out to you that I would do in a normal training exercise. And then we're going to have some sort of feedback and everything else. So it should go well. So KPIs, key performance indicators, what makes your business tick. We're going to look at the first question I'm going to ask is, do you know what KPIs are and what they should be? And do you know what your KPIs are? That's the first question to ask yourself. So ask yourself that for a second and say to yourself, okay, do I know what the 4 KPIs are? And if not, or if I do know them, do I know what my numbers are? Okay, so think of that for a second, because if you don't know your numbers, it's vital that you do. So one thing that we'll talk about very, very briefly before we move into it is a KPI is a data metric or metricy that will look at what your sales efforts are. So a typical KPI will be number of customers you speak to. So that could be broken down even further into number of telephone calls emails, door knocking visits, number of customers you attempt to speak to, dials, or number of customers you actually speak to, decision makers you speak to. Another KPI will be time. How much time do you spend talking to customers? Because if you're not talking to a customer who makes a decision, is that time worth spending? Then the fourth one will be how much do you do in terms of deals, or how many appointments do you make, or how many proposals do you send out, or whatever. So it's time, number of calls you attempt, number of customers you actually speak to, time you spend speaking to them, and the outcome. Those are your four main matrices. Everything else isn't that important. So before we even talk about these KPIs, and if you've been in sales, you know that you are often managed to look at the KPIs. It's saying, right, whose responsibility? Bianca, KPIs, who's responsible for it?
So usually in a sales job, it would be a sales manager. But in this webinar tonight, we've got a mixture of business owners and salespeople. And I think, are you actually setting your own KPIs is the question, because it's usually a sales manager.
Well, most people think it's a sales manager's job.
But actually, we should all be setting our own KPIs.
Well, I've always said it's down to you as a salesperson to set your KPIs. In fact, it's down to you as the business owner or the salesperson or the person talking to customers to manage your own KPIs. It's your responsibility. The managers like to see what's going on, but you can actually, what we're going to show you tonight is how you can take a KPI and identify what you're doing wrong in your sales process and why your results aren't going as well as they are. So we're going to talk about KPIs. But first of all, we're going to talk about why this is important. Then we're going to talk about KPIs in a little bit more detail. Then we're going to talk about exactly what the right KPIs are to track. Then we're going to talk about mindset. Then we're going to talk about some ways to change your mindset in terms of dealing with customers to take away the big issues that cause you that thing. We're going to talk a little bit about this in Sales Manifesto, now available. The secrets to your life and business are in here, possibly worth £1 million to you. And then we're going to talk about something else that we're doing that's really very cool. So with that, let's move on to why bother with KPIs, because KPIs are important because they're going to tell you what you do, but why bother with them in detail? So, I'm a great artist.
You've upped your drawing.
I have upped it. So, fear. Fear is the mind killer. This is what happens with salespeople. They get scared, ringing customers, speaking to customers. People get scared when they are the salesperson or they're selling or they're in their business because they're worried about what, Bianca? What are you scared about?
Getting a no, being rejected. The fear is a thing. I don't know if any of you on this call have ever had the fear in selling, aka you don't want to pick up the phone, you're trying to do anything to actually call a customer or have a sales conversation. But yeah, fear of rejection, I guess. So
fear is a mind killer, and it is a mind killer for a number of reasons. But actually, the reason why fear is an issue is because of something called fight or flight. So fight or flight is a hardwired response to human beings. It's not something you learn, it's hardwired. The fight or flight response goes back to our pre-human, proto-human days. In fact, it's an animal response. You'll see it in an animal that gets scared or run away. And I want to ask you all a question. This is you. And this is a very, very scary dinosaur. It's actually got a name.
This is news to me.
I know, I keep some of the things back. His name is Problemosaurus. And Problemosaurus is quite a nasty little blighter. Problemosaurus is attacking you. Now, if you're a human being and you've got a dinosaur there, what are your options? Answer in the group, guys. What will you do? Given the choice. See the dinosaur, what will you do? Anybody can join in. You can't have, by the way, the answer light a barbecue, run as fast as possible.
If you want all the attendees to also see your answers, then you need to send it to all panelists and all attendees. Otherwise, only we see the answers, which is fine.
Okay, good point.
If you want all the group to see the answers, then I put it to all panelists and all attendees.
Miguel will say light up the barbecue, which is very kind of him to cook himself for the dinosaur. Val's put run as fast as possible. Matthew Kilby, stand your ground and fight. So,
got a courageous one.
Very courageous, but generally, you're right. The choice is you run. Now, what emotion do you associate with flight or running away? What emotion would you say they're experiencing as they run away?
Fear.
And Ivan, Val, correct, fear. So given the choice, generally you'd run. Now, what if
oh gosh. Now we've got your baby mummy.
What if you've got
kids?
a baby mummy pregnant, and 2 little kids? What are you going to do?
Well, you're going to protect them.
In other words,
it's time to fight.
and what emotion do you associate with fighting?
I'm going to let the audience come up with this one. Okay, Val says anger.
So anger is fighting, and fear is running. But given a choice, the reason he's got to fight is because he hasn't got a choice to run. So what can you tell me about people that are angry? Because if you think about it in this scenario, the first choice is run. And it's fight when the running isn't necessarily an option. So what can we say about anger? It all comes from fear. And on the emotional scale, anger is above fear, because fear is I'm scared of the world. Anger is the first time in the emotional scale from negativity of apathy. Fear is the first time you start having that outward expression. It is a negative emotion still, but it is moving forward. So all angry people are actually what? Bianca, do you remember?
They're fearful.
They're scared. So when you're worried about speaking to an angry person, they're angry because they're scared. It takes a bit of the pressure off the nature of the conversation.
But actually, can I just say on that, because when I first learned that anger was actually fear, it changed the way I viewed anger in myself. So I don't know if this is news to anyone. Next time you're actually angry or feel anger, it's a great way to check in with yourself and actually realize, hold on a second, I'm actually scared or a bit fearful. And it's a really great way to become more self-aware. But yeah, so a little side note there.
So thank you. So Problemosaurus attacks, you can run or fight. But in the real world, in the modern world, when Problemosaurus appears, who's not a dinosaur, but one of the modern world problems, can you run away from your problems? Not always. Can you fight your problem. Let's say you've got a boss or a customer that's pushing you hard. You can't attack the customer with a spear, not legally, not in this country anyway. So what happens? What is the third thing that occurs? And that is freeze. And freeze is very, very dangerous, because what happens? Have you heard the phrase a rabbit? Have you seen a rabbit when you're driving along and stuck in the road, or a deer in the headlights? What generally happens to the deer or the rabbit in the headlights?
They freeze.
But what happens to them, Bianca?
Their pupils dilate.
Okay. What eventually happens to them when they don't move as the car bears down on them?
Oh, they get killed.
They get run over. And this is the thing why freeze is never the right result. Fight or flight, great, but stay and do nothing, it's not good. So what's this got to do with selling? What's this got to do with KPIs? What's this got to do with, what am I talking about? Let me explain. Here is a character who's in fight or flight. And when you go into fight or flight, and I'm just wondering if anybody here has ever experienced fight or flight. You might have nearly seen a small child run over, or you might have actually been in physical danger, or you might have had some scenario where you were truly scared in that sort of environment. So I just want you to think about, or share if you want, some of those feelings, physical feelings you might have had or experienced when you were in that state. Bianca, what sort of things have you ever been in that situation?
Panic.
So how were your thought processes?
Quick, generally. Can't quite focus.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone get that sick feeling in their stomach with that? Oh my God, that lurch, heart palpitations. So when you go into fight or flight, the following things happen. You get tunnel vision. So you only focus on what you're either fighting or running from. You don't, when you're running from Problemosaurus, you don't stop and go, oh, those flowers, aren't they lovely? Well, 1 second, Problemosaurus. Beautiful. Don't do that. You certainly don't stop and go, listen, beautiful birds, they're making such lovely. Your noise and eyesight become very focused only on survival. Everything. Why are you laughing?
Because that's you every time you're in the car with me. You're clearly just in fight or flight.
Fight or flight when you're driving. Your heart is pumping like that. Blood is coursing around your body. Your reflexes increase to over 200% efficiency. Blood suffuses your arms and legs, ready for action. You actually lose blood from your abdomen, and often the lower intestine area will void itself, because if you do take injuries to this part, it doesn't want any undigested matter around, so it will clear, ready for real battle, and you become super strong. But you also have reduced logic, and your long-term strategic thought processes are out the window. Everything is moment to moment. There's no long-term thinking, and there's certainly no bigger picture stuff happening. You effectively become less intelligent because it's all about the now. On top of that, when you're in fight or flight, which is only supposed to last 20 to 60 minutes, your immune system shuts down and cortisol is introduced into the body, which is a stress hormone, which is designed to help recovery and help speed you up. But it's not good long term. Any ideas what sort of character in pop culture or films sort of exhibits everything in fight or flight? Sort of really strong character who tends to get really strong when he's threatened. And if any of you remember the television show, he would say, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry," before he turned into the Hulk. Interestingly, the Hulk is a physical representation of fight or flight. Stronger, faster, heart pump, muscly, able to do many things. Is Dr. Bannister, I think you're right there, Michael. Dr. Bannister, does he have reduced cognitive thoughts? Is he less clever than Dr. Bannister, the Hulk? I'd say he was. Hulk smash, not hello, my name's Hulk, pleasure to meet you. How are you today, dear boy? Jolly good. No, it's Hulk smash. And interestingly, when he says don't make me angry, really, anger is the second part of fight or flight, because the very first part is fear, because the Hulk only transforms not when someone slighted him, but when he's under threat. So actually, he shouldn't be saying, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." He should be saying, "Don't frighten me. You wouldn't like it if I was scared," which doesn't quite scan as well for television show. But the truth is, that's the Hulk. Now we're going to come back to the Hulk, because I want you to think about how do they get the Hulk away from being the Hulk. Interesting point we're going to come back to. Any questions for anyone so far?
No questions so far.
No, I mean, like, what about you, from you?
Oh, from me? No, not yet.
Right. Last thing we're going to say on this, when you are making phone calls, if you get scared, actually, there is something we're going to say about this. If you're making a phone call and you're worried or you're fearful, you could be affected by reduced brain, and therefore you become less intelligent when you make sales calls, which makes it even harder, which then makes it harder to make the sales call, which makes it even harder because you get more scared, to the point is you're a quivering wreck. How do I know this is the case? Because I was affected terribly by the fight or flight phenomenon when I was making sales calls when I was younger than Bianca even. I was working insurance, life insurance, and I was given a Yellow Pages, which, Bianca, I don't know if you know what Yellow Pages was, a book that would have like a telephone directory. It was paper.
Of course I remember it.
I wasn't sure if you did. Some people in here might be too young to remember those sort of things. And I was given this book and go, "There's your database, make the phone calls." And people had phoned these companies many, many times. And I was told you've got to make 300 dials. And that was the morning. Pick up the phone and bash, bash, bash. And good news, when you finish, we give you some pizza. After about 3 months of this, I actually got physical shakes from fear of continual rejection, because I always got the letter A because I was the new boy. So they gave me the worst. And I needed hypnotherapy to get over it. In fact, that was the beginning of my journey into understanding human psychology that ended up with the writing of this book, Sell Your Attitude, which is all about understanding how to live a happier life. But it was to eradicate the fear, because I was physically unable to pick up the phone because it was too intense, which is one of the reasons why I've ended up being a sales trainer, because when I was younger, I found it so difficult, and I want to make it easier so nobody ever has to feel that pain.
That's really interesting, because actually in sales, a lot of it is so much mindset, and the mood you're in or how you feel is definitely felt by the people you speak to. So if something winds you up, or you get frustrated, or you're angry, then you're essentially probably going to be burning leads, and you might even get, would you not say then that people are going to receive the anger they're feeling, and they might respond in that way too?
Well, interesting. You might have the fear of rejection. Oh, hang on, what's happened here? No, Okay, there you go. You might be fearful of rejection. There we go. You might have the fear of rejection. But what about them when you ring up the phone? Have you ever received a phone call, a sales call, and you don't want to speak to them?
You don't want to speak to them, or they don't want to speak to you?
No, you don't want to speak to someone's made a sales call to you, and you go, don't want to speak to them. How do you treat them?
Well, I treat them nicely because I've been in sales and I'm a sales trainer. But
all right, how do most people treat them?
Well, badly, and I've definitely been received badly. I think especially if it's a cold call, a lot of people are just, before even giving you a minute, they are automatically angry at you, or they're frustrated with you. You've called them out of the blue, and they're not happy about it.
I think a lot of people find receiving sales calls, they're scared of cold calling. And all of the there's press and coverage about scammers and things like that. So people are fearful of what? Well, when a cold caller, who is it? Who's contacting you?
Well, you don't know. That's the thing.
And so, what is a word for people we don't know?
Stranger.
Stranger. Very good, Bianca. And what did we used to say? I bet you won't know this one. Of a certain age is the one to throw out there. Stranger, and then another word.
Danger.
Very good. How did you know that?
Because I was literally like at school when you were young. Oh, stranger danger.
I didn't know if that was. I thought I'd come up with that. Anyway, so they've got fear of strangers. So when you don't talk to strangers, actually, absolutely right.
Yes, because in society, especially here in England, we are literally taught from a very young age, and that's the whole stranger danger thing. Don't talk to strangers; they might kidnap you.
So how can you avoid? How can you eradicate that question? How can you eradicate the fear of strangers? Introduce yourself, say who you are and why you're calling. One of the core fundamentals of what we do in sales training. Hello, my name is Adam Caplan. I'm calling from Seller Attitude. Appreciate you're really busy. Just calling to introduce myself. I'd like to find out when it's a good time to call you back so I can make a call. How would you best like me to introduce my business to you?
So asking questions.
Engaging with them. Now, we'll talk about it quickly because we're on that subject now. I mentioned the Hulk, and those of you that watch who know any of the canon around the Hulk will know that he gets into a fear situation. Right, then he usually gets talked down out of the Hulk back into Bannister. I don't know if any of you remember how that usually happens, but it's usually done by somebody talking to him calmly. Do you remember, and Bianca, how can you, the Hulk's issue, anyone in anger, if you talk to somebody that's angry or they're upset, and any of you have had friends who've been angry or upset, how do you calm them down? Because do you have to repeat yourself to them several times?
Asking questions, grounding them.
Yeah. So if you talk to somebody and you say to them, you need to do this, they won't listen to you, will they?
Not try and fix them, but actually try and. But when I used to have panic attacks, because I used to get panic attacks when I was younger, you taught me. Dad is actually also a trained psychotherapist and trauma counselor. He taught me the grounding technique, which was all about simply, and I was in fight or flight then, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And it's just a grounding technique, asking me, okay, well, how many chairs are there in the room you're in? What are the colours you can see? How many, if you hold off, how many fingers do you have? And literally just asking question after question after question, and actually completely calm me down from not being able to breathe
So Bianca,
and you did that over the phone.
yeah.
Many times.
So certainly when you're in Israel, when I was asking you questions, what was I forcing you to do?
Think.
Which meant engage your logic circuits. And when you engage your logic circuits, even at a very small level, like how many chairs are there? What's your favorite color? What can you see? You know, how many cups are there in the cupboard? And I get her to go up and count the cups. That engaging of the brain will get people to it. Now, when you're a customer, they may be in a form of fight or flight when you first call them. They don't want to talk to you. So what we do is introduce ourselves by saying this is who we are, and then ask a simple question, which forces them to think. We'd like to introduce ourselves to your company. Appreciate that we've just rung you out of the blue. How would you best like us to approach you? That's how much we put our customers first. How would you like us to sell to you? And if they answer, say, well, could you send an email followed by a phone call? Okay.
Rather than just sort of tell.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other things here. When you get upset and angry, Bianca, what sorts of people in your life, apart from me, help you calm down?
I thought you were going to say apart from you make me angry.
Okay.
Just saying. To calm me down. People who care about me.
Friends and family.
Yeah.
So when people, if you can get into this constant understanding that questions help you calm people down from fight or flight in a sales scenario, you become their friend. You act like the friend and trusted person.
And you care.
Yeah.
And actually, what I really like about that is that I think often one of the reasons, even if I receive a cold call, if they don't care, or sometimes, you know, you get quite a lot of arrogant salespeople that actually they don't really appreciate your time or anything. And they come with an attitude of, I had one recently where she actually lied to me, even though I'm director. And I knew she was lying. That sort of thing, that does make you frustrated. But when you truly care, salespeople who care, selling with love, then you're going to keep them calm and they're not going to get angry at you. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Now, on to KPIs. 4 types of key performance indicators. Dials, that is number of attempted contacts with a customer. And I talk about dials as telephones as opposed to emails, because personally, I'm a great believer in you should just talk to people as opposed to emailing. I know post-COVID, it's harder to do that, but wherever we can, make those contacts by telephone, even if it's a case of emailing them, said, let's have a quick telephone conversation. When's the best time? How do I best contact you, etc., etc. Talk to people, and dials can also be Zooms if that's what you want to do. Then it's time, and time talking to customers. So time on the phone. A lot of companies have ability for you to see how much time you spend actually on a cold calling or a telephone ringing around exercise or customer calling. Time you spend talking to customers is vital in terms of really doing and running a proper outreach. Now, it doesn't have to be all of the things you do every day, but if you are going to want to build your customers, certainly making phone calls to people, how are you calls, whatever those type of phone calls are, is vital to building your relationships with people. Third is DMC, not Run DMC, the popular band from the 80s.
Or deep, meaningful conversation, if anyone remembers having those in the playground.
Okay, didn't know about that. You didn't mention that last time. But they mean decision-making contacts. These are the people that actually make the buying decision, not the janitor or gatekeepers, but the person that is the buyer, or has at least puts the proposal through to the final person that signs off, depending on the decision tree within the organization. And number 4 is results. That could mean sales, that could mean appointments that you've made, that could be a number of aspects to it. Those are your 4 KPIs. And it's you are responsible. You're responsible. I was writing you're responsible but then we got, so
I've got
you
a
are,
question, Austin.
yes, ask.
So I've got a client, so because we've got quite a lot of business owners in this group tonight, and I'd be interested to know who here is a business owner that doesn't think they're a salesperson. Because I was setting KPIs for someone who didn't like the idea of making phone calls because they felt that by ringing someone out of the blue, they were basically, their time was inflicted. And I explained, we went through it, but they really felt as an introvert that cold calling just isn't for them. They wouldn't want to receive it, fearful, and therefore they really, really were adamant that they won't do it. So what would you say to someone that feels that?
You're asking me, or are you asking the room?
Well, both. Well, I guess there's more of a conversation with you, but so look, Miguel's just said here, cold calling is not for me, 100% fearful and not a salesperson. But you are a business owner, so you are a salesperson. You don't see yourself as a salesperson, that's not your job title, but you are in a position to sell your services. So do you see what I mean? So it's getting that understanding, and hopefully by the end of this, Miguel, you're going to not find it scary.
I think there's a lot of aspects. You really go down a rabbit hole about what is selling and what makes a salesperson tick, and how to remove the fear from a salesperson. And I'm sure that there's things that people could buy that could help people who were fearful to stop being fearful. But that is another story for another day. This is all selling is. It's numbers. It's a numbers game. It's not the fear that we talked about as the mind killer. It is a numbers game. And as Michael said, very, very truthfully, if you just think about ringing customers to find out more about them and learning more about them and what's going on in their life, this is the point. Because, so let's ask you another question. If you talk to a new prospective customer and you could click a button and they knew everything about your product and how it would benefit them, and you knew everything about them and how it would help them, how many of them would go ahead and buy? And that is something we're going to talk about in a second, okay? But that is key. So actually, there's no magic to this. If you make enough calls and you spend enough time talking to enough decision makers, you will get the results you want. This is not up for grabs. This is it. Now, you're responsible for your KPIs, not the manager. It's you. So let's look at some actual results and let me see what we can see. Here's Pete. Pete has made 100 dials. He's spoken to 10 decision makers, 100 minutes on the phone, and has got 5 deals. What do you think? Good, bad? 5 deals.
Well, he's done 100 dials. He's been on the phone 100 minutes. So if it's about 10 minutes per decision maker, and he's got half the deals in from the decision makers he's spoken to.
The thing is, really, statistically, you should be getting about a third of the time you dial, you should speak to a decision maker.
Yeah, he's not talking to enough. He's not talking to enough decision makers. He's
not talking to enough decision makers, which means he's got an issue with gatekeepers, which means he's not asking the right questions there.
He's letting them say no.
He's probably handling decision makers right, and 5 results from 10 decision makers, he's closing okay. His problem is over here at the gatekeeper.
So if he was to get more through the gatekeeper more, if he's going to keep the closing rate,
if you look at Paula, 200 dials, same amount of decision makers, more time on the phone, slightly fewer deals, not such a big issue here. Here, she's even worse. Yeah, she's even worse at getting past gatekeeper, and here she's burning through leads. Penelope, 40 dials, 20 decision makers, 300 minutes on the phone, 10 deals. Most people will be really happy about that, but here she's taking too long.
A lot of time, yeah.
Too long here, talking to customers to get the deals done. If she she spent less time on unnecessary conversation, she'd end up with much higher figures. Or she's getting distracted by emails or whatever. Something's wrong here. And then we look at this. So what's that name, Bianca?
Oh, you're funny. That is Dad's middle name. Felipe.
I think I'm not sure if it's a cute or accent, but either way, it's not whatever. Instead of it being Philippe, my mother did. She wanted it to be Philippe, to be exotic, and my birth certificate has me down as Philippe because she's got an acute or an accent in the wrong space because she wants to be exotic. So there you go. There's the secret, but no one knows about me. My middle name is Adam Philippe Caplan. So there you go. So Philippe has got 150 dials, good effort, 40 DMCs, that's about on for what you'd expect. Maybe a few more we could do. 180 minutes, good work, good work. And then 13 deals. That's the sort of KPI that you'd want to see from people. And the interesting thing is, those sort of stats and the sort of understanding your own stats and trying to work out what you're doing is going to give you visibility on yourself about what you're doing. And that is when you take responsibility for your own outcomes. Now, here's a good one. This is not an egg. This is a pie chart representing 100% of your dials for the day. 100% of your sales efforts. Okay.
So just to say, for a business owner, this would be your sales activity. So how many conversations you're having, who you're speaking to.
So we're doing it from telesales, from a pure sales point of view, but it's about understanding and taking that fear away, Miguel, so that you don't have that fear. I asked Bianca this question earlier, and I'll ask you all the same thing. If you were going to ring, you're selling, you're picking up the phone to phone customers. Every time you pick up the phone, what do you want to happen? What do you want to happen? When you pick up the phone, what are you hoping to happen? Don't say Bianca. I want somebody else out there to say something. You pick up the phone to talk to a customer. What are you looking for? And
tumbleweed
that they buy. Thank you. Someone to answer it. Business, absolutely. You're looking, people think you're looking for a sale. Now, we'll do it with you, Bianca. When you make someone mentioned voicemail.
Miguel.
If you made 100 dials, how many voicemails do you think you'd receive?
10 to 20%.
20%? Okay. And how many people would be in meetings and unavailable?
Yeah, probably 20%.
Okay. And how many people would you say might be not in that day?
About 10%.
Okay, so that's not in. So already we're at 50% and you can't even talk to them. How many of the remainder would you say don't have
or would you not in or in a meeting?
Meeting, not in, unavailable, but generally half, either voicemail, the gatekeeper is not putting you through, something like that. You've got half left. How many of the people you speak to don't have the money to sell what you're offering? Genuinely, the company is not in a position.
10%.
All right. No dough. Oh, 10%.
No doughy.
No dough. No doog. How many people are in a contract already?
20%, 25%.
Okay, let's just say 15%. Okay, in contract. So as we look at it, 75% of the people you've tried to speak to, for whatever reason, are not able to buy from you. They're either not in, they were in a meeting, there was voicemail, they don't have the money when you do talk to them, or they're in a contract, or they do it for their friends and family, leaving only 25% of the people you were calling that could even talk to you be possible for you doing business. And if you speak to them and you were able to close half of them, which would be phenomenal, then you're looking at 12.5% sales success would be an amazing result from half of the people that you can actually speak to. Now, if you think 12% is a good result on 100 calls, or you think it's a bad result, because I'd like to get 50, 60% of people when I make a phone call, truth is, you're putting yourself under too much pressure. You don't want to be getting 100 yeses. You can't get 100 yeses. It's impossible. You can't phone. No, never in the history of sales. I can tell you this. I've thousands, tens of thousands of calls in sales training over the years. No one's even got to 50% success. Never. Nobody has ever made 100 phone in all the years of cold calling, of all the years of making outbound sales. Nobody ever has made 100 dials and got 100 deals. That has never happened, and it will never happen. It cannot happen, because that's not how the world works, because someone's going to be ruining your perfect number. So change the mindset. I don't want you to try to get 100 yeses. What I want you to try to do is make 100 dials. This is what I would say to a sales training team. I want you to make 100 dials tomorrow. I'm going to give you a sheet to monitor. I can share this with you guys later. I want you to get 100 no's. And I guarantee you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to get 100 not-ins, unavailables, nowhere there, no dough. You won't be able to get 100%. Somebody somewhere is going to talk to you. And if you're doing it right, somebody somewhere is going to ruin your 100% record and buy or take you to the next stage. Because it's just numbers. It's only maths. The math of sales is you cannot fail if your mindset is right and you're asking the right questions. But you've got to pick up the phone and talk to the people and try. This is not a failure. How can you be failing if 20% of the people you call on voicemail? How have you failed with 20%? You haven't. You can't do anything about that. And if they're not in because they're in meetings or working from home or wherever, you can't get hold of them, you've not failed. Or if they're not in, you've not failed. And if the company has no money, genuinely, times are tough out there for a lot of companies and cannot afford your services, not only is it not a failure, but you shouldn't be trying to sell to companies that can't afford whatever it is you do, because then you're not ethically doing the right thing. And if they're in contract and they cannot legally break it without massive financial penalties, you can't sell to them. So 75% of your phone calls, you could not do anything about. And yet people would say 75 times, I've failed. You haven't. You haven't. What you've done is you succeeded, because every no means you're closer to the next yes. Try and get 100 dials. You will not be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. But we know that. I know that I've done many years. I've put, you've got to be honest, you can't go and ruin there, but you have to be. Val, who we're very fortunate to have with us, working with us, and she's been with us now. This is her second month.
Yeah,
she's never had a 0 day. Never had a 0 day.
She's good.
But you know, because you can't, well, you know, yeah, she's trained her, but you know, hey, the fact is you can't get a 0 day. Now, imagine this. Imagine a room, and in that room is 100 black glass jars, and it's got an opaque sort of cling film type covering on top, so you can't see in it. In the 100 jars, there are 4 jars with £100 cash in them, and all you can do to get in the jar is stick your hand in, sort of as if you're on I'm a Celebrity. Okay? 100 jars. And there's 4 of them with £100 in. And I guarantee there's definitely 4 with £100. What would you all do? What would you do?
Put your hand in.
You put your hand in and you go to open all of them. First one, you put your hand in, it's empty. Are you going to stop putting your hand in, Bianca?
No.
Why?
Because I'm going to keep going.
And second one's empty.
Keep going.
15. First 15 are all empty.
Keep going.
Okay. You put your hand in the next one and it's full of freezing water with ice cubes.
Yeah, keep going.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
5 more empty. Now 20 in.
I'm excited.
Okay. You put the next hand in. Now you put your hand in and it's got dog poo in it. Unpleasant.
Oh.
It's only an angry
£400
customer.
on the line.
It's only an angry customer.
I've had a doggy. I think I can deal with it. I keep
And
going.
the point is that you would keep going no matter what was in there, because you knew that there's £100 or £400 at the end. And you go through some unpleasant experiences in your sticking a hand in. Not dangerous, but unpleasant, because you knew that at the end of it, you're going to get that result. The thing is, in general, when you make a good phone call, when you make a good sales call, you don't get angry people. They might be a bit, but you just, because it's just part of every no means you're on the way to the next yes. So the mindset change makes all the difference in the world. And here's the other thing, and this is the kicker, because you're not bothered about it, because you know that it's just every no means you're on your way to the next yes, as I will say, some will, some won't, so what next? Then you're no longer feeling anxious. So you're not anxious and you don't sound anxious.
That's
and because
okay.
you don't sound anxious and you feel confident, how do you come across, B?
You come across much better, and people are going to receive you better, and they can feel it. They can really feel it through the phone.
So if somebody phones up and they're like, they're nice, they feel easy and they're calm, then you're more receptive to them. So the calmer you are, the better you are, which makes you get less rejection, which positively spins up.
And I just want to actually give a bit personal, because obviously I use these myself, this whole method and this mindset. But sometimes I get, for example, on LinkedIn, I might get someone that's very, very rude or says something quite horrid. And do you know what? I genuinely don't take it personally. I just respond with kindness, and we're completely calm, and I ask questions. And I can tell you every single time they come back and they're lovely. And I've even built relationships upon people like this. So it's really interesting. If you apply this, rather than getting your back up or taking it so personally, and actually using this mindset to your advantage, you can actually build relationships with those people. I'm not saying you necessarily want to, but you can leave it in a calm note, and you can turn the situation around. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Has done this, and it doesn't matter, even if you have one of those unpleasant situations, you always end it on a good note, because you know the right way to deal with these people, and everyone leaves happy. No one leaves angry, basically.
Right. Here's a little question for you all. Can you see that? That is a 10-foot plank, 6 inches off the ground. For £50, can you walk across the 10-foot plank that's 6 inches across the ground? Anybody here? And it's that wide. That wide. Good 18 inches, 2 foot wide. Anybody saying no to that? Bianca?
I'd walk across.
Everyone would walk across it. Yeah? Okay. Mindset. I'm not going to do millions. But that's now an office.
How many stories are we talking?
And look, there's the cars down there.
Oh, they're small.
All right.
That's high.
Hi. How many of you for £50 would be willing to do that?
I mean,
Now,
it's gotta be mad. Nick said yes.
£50. You know, Nick, it's slightly different, Nick. You're a qualified abseiler who hangs off buildings for a living. We love you for that. Now, what if?
Right, we've got lots of men here saying they're going to do it for £50.
What if you've got a little
Oh,
child
God.
there saying help because the building's on fire? How about that? What about that? How many of you would run across then? What if it was your child? Would you need the £50? Would you even think? You'd be straight over. So what appears easy or difficult is all about perspective. And when it was just 6 inches across the ground, it was still the same walk. The height of the building made it seem impossible, but then the key requirement to do it took away the fear of there. So when you think about your mindset, where are you in sales? Are you, it's 6 inches above ground, it doesn't bother me at all? Are you, it's a massive tall building, I'm scared, I don't think I can do it unless it was a lot of money? Or are you, I've got to do it, it's a calling? And if you passionately believe in what you do, if you passionately care about your product and care about your customer, if you care and you know that what you offer benefits your customers and improves their life, then you are that man there helping the customer on the burning building, because the burning building is not using you, and this is using your services. And if they're on a burning building, we have this mindset. Any client that's not working with us is on the burning building of disaster as their business burns to the ground and they are left with nothing except cardboard boxes. Their children destitute, don't get the life that they could have had because it didn't work with us. So we want to get over, help them and help their families and children, get them to our building. We can help them use our services and have better lives, happier lives, where they live in a blessed world of peace and harmony, sold with love, because that's how much we care. And that mindset is what you need to have for your customers, because what happens if they don't use you? This. Got to help them. Get over there quick. Help them. Bring them back. Show them the benefits of what you do by asking the right questions and help them to come to the safety of working with you. And that is what we want you to think of. And that's why KPIs, the math of sales, is all about numbers. It's all about helping people have that inner safety and security of what they do. I think I got carried away there. But actually, that is how we think about it. This is a new analogy. We've not done this before. I never thought about that building, their building not using us, going down in flames and using us as the safety. And this is the sales bridge. And we have to go over and help them. Brilliant.
So I think...
Love it. Well done.
With this, I think a lot of people that get the fear, it's really important to sort of check in and see why have you got it? What makes you scared to pick up the phone and ring potential clients or make these potential deals, and is it something inside of you? Have you stopped believing in yourself? Have you stopped believing in a product or service? And generally it's one of those. I would say you either aren't believing in what you sell, and quite frankly, if you don't believe in what you sell, then the people that you speak to are not going to believe you. You've really got to believe in it. And if you aren't believing in yourself, you've lost a bit of confidence, you're having imposter syndrome, or it's out of your comfort zone, then it's really I would say important to step outside of your comfort zone. That really is where the magic is. That's where the growth is, and that's where all the adventure and the getting across that plank and saving people is going to be. It's not in your comfort zone where you're comfy up in bed, writing emails on your phone or out on a lovely walk. It's out there. What do we always say? We say salespeople are on the front line of businesses. If you're selling, you're in the front line, because all businesses are reliant on sales. So if you're not out there selling for your business and it's just you, then your business is going to become that burning building, because it's going to shatter. You've got to be able to find the confidence in yourself to be. And again, what do we say? One of our clients says about our sales training that they love it because it's like sales training for non-salespeople, because they don't want to see themselves as salespeople, do they? And it's funny, a lot of people don't, but we're all salespeople. We're all salespeople. And I think that's spot on. If you really believe in what you're selling and you love it, then why wouldn't you want to share it with the world and help others benefit from it? When we buy something that we love, so like recently I found this seller on Etsy who makes all these homemade mugs, right? Love it. I cannot stop singing her praises. I'll go and tell everyone I buy lots from her, love supporting her business. And we've even now done a little joint project where I've designed something I'm going to send to all my clients, right? But because I genuinely love it and believe in it, and I see the benefit it brings me, I'm going to want to refer her. So be in love with whatever your product or service is, love it endlessly, and be so passionate about it that every single person you speak to is going to feel that. And if it's right for them, why won't they buy?
Exactly. So last bits. April the 15th, this week, 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. is our next session called Elevate Your Referrals with Ease. We invite you to come along to this. This one is a biddable event, unlike these lovely free ones that we give away. This is a 2-hour training event that we are providing to help you benefit your business. Now, statistically speaking, go on.
And build a profitable referral network, because you might have a referral network, but it might not be profitable. So it's about really knowing the 5 steps to building that profitable referral network. And so it's £40 to attend, but if you go and apply what you learn, you should make from this, specifically from this, I'd say at least £400 within 6 weeks, but we reckon it'll be even sooner. And
it is statistically
Miguel,
speaking, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Statistically, there's a few of you actually on the call that are coming, which is great. But statistically, you should expect from the session to be able to generate a new invoice that you weren't going to invoice, worth at least £400 from this single session. That's what we see. That's the statistics of this particular material that we've seen again and again and again. It is invitation only, and it is strictly limited to 10 people. And I think we've only got 3 spots remaining. Okay, it's quite late. We'd like to invite you to come along. And thank you very much. In fact, Michael Kpis has been on it as well. So very, very well worth doing. And so please think about coming, get in touch with Bianca or myself if that's something of interest to you. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. Bianca, do you want to? Well,
and just on this, interesting what I was saying actually about the mugs and this small business that I'm
passionate about. Show the mug.
I'm passionate about her. I think she's brilliant. Anyway, this is one that I have made for Dad, and I've started designing them myself.
Oh my God.
We speak and
just think about what's on the mug.
Daddy saw us.
And what I just did.
Oh, you drew the T-Rex.
Yeah, but how fun is that you did Daddy saw us?
Oh yeah.
Am I your problemosaurus then?
No. Anyway.
How weird. Anyway, go on. It's weird.
What I'm saying is that that is the source of referral for her business. I'm a client and I absolutely love it. I'll give her testimonials all day long. So I'm a referral source of hers. But so that's one, your clients. But there are 8 sources of referrals. Most people are like, what? When they hear that. So generating referrals for your business is like having your own sales team. You know, if you don't actually have a sales team working for you, building a referral partnership team is going to be able to help you with that. So if you're interested in finding out more and how you can increase your sales for your business, then we'd love to have you along with us. And as my trusty, handsome assistant has just shown, those are our 2 books.
Happy for you to buy. And a great thing to give, by the way, if you've got people you know or referral partners you wish to develop and build their relationship with, makes a very nice gift. I saw this and I thought of you because it will help you improve your business. Now, we're very excited about the book, genuinely, because the genuinely is, see you later, Mike, genuinely is a book that develops and is all of our knowledge in all of these sessions, and there's some good stuff in here.
It is a pretty
color.
It's pretty brilliant. So as coaches, we coach this stuff, okay? So people can take the book, but it's the application of it that is really important.
What is selling? Oh, I love it.
It is a brilliant book, but you've got to actually action it, which is why we're coaches, because we're there to help people put things into action as well as teach. But it is a brilliant book. If anyone here wants to get better at selling, this book has everything you can imagine inside of it to help you do that. But you got to set your KPIs and you got to put them into action. Ain't that right?
Ain't that right? Ain't that right? You sure do know a lot about selling, little girl.
No, we're not doing this now.
We are. My gosh, she's so pretty. She knows all about the selling thing. She's very clever. We used to do this. So it was a lot of fun though. She would go into a thing, but she just left me hanging there. So
no, I did.
It's very, very good, Michael, to have some of these books for your clients. And yes, there is an audio version coming. Waiting for the new, a couple of bits that we're adding to it for the audiobook. But yeah, that will be recorded and should be available in the next couple of months.
And Sell Your Attitude and The 9-Step Guide to Happier Life. I've read it probably, I would say 5 or 6 times. I did also help write the second version, but it is really Dad's baby, and it is a fantastic book. Again, he's trauma incident reduction counsellor, if you didn't already know that, and it's got 18 exercises in there that use real trauma incident reduction techniques, and it is a real nitty-gritty personal development book. And again, if you go through that and you apply it, then you'll see really positive changes in your life. So we're not just pretty faces.
But it is tough. Don't get me wrong. This is tough. This takes courage and bravery to finish. It's life-changing, but it's tough.
It's a proper. It's not fluffy.
This is a guide to changing everything about you think about selling and starting to sell with love.
Like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for Sales.
So on that note, thank you very much for coming. It's a shorter one than usual. We've done longer, but I think this has been chock full of good stuff. Hopefully see some of you on Thursday. And yeah, crack on. Oh, the other thing to say is that there's some changes happening at Sell Your Attitude Towers about how we develop and do our events. So we're going to be doing a sort of more advanced webinar sessions, and part of what we're going to be calling Sales Club, which will be subscription based, but it's going to change everything. So a lot of the stuff that you've seen here is going to be coming onto our new program, which is coming out later this year.
Is the Sales Club you're talking about coaching or webinar series? Both,
but it's all different levels to it.
Well, if you want to be part of Sales Club, get in touch.
Yeah. Right, guys.
Have a lovely evening. Thanks for coming. We hope you enjoyed
And
it.
if anyone's got any questions, we'll stay on for a minute or two to 2 days ago, not a few. But anyone's got any questions? Too few, whatever. Looking forward to Miguel being on that so much.
Yeah.
With these
Miguel, you're going to get so much from it. I'm so excited.
And the abuse he gives me for my
Santa Claus hair.
I can't believe that.
Shelley, look at Dad's hair. Shelley hasn't seen you in
for a while.
Look at it.
How about that? Thank you, Val. Very kind words.
Bill.
I see that.
I've not had that one yet, but I can see it.
Yeah, that's sort of beautiful. Look at that. And it's still growing. Father Christmas. Thank you, Val. I get a lot of that, to be honest. But hey.
Honestly, the funniest thing was when he went for a haircut the other day, and he got in the car and I was like, you've not changed. Oh, he does look cool. Honestly, if you saw the 2020 versus 2021, though, you are a different person.
Mm.
Oh, anyway.
Well, good. Great, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great fun having you here.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, keep well. And yeah, super. See you later, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.